Greetings everyone, so Fine Dancing on Day back at it again with another reaction. And I know it's been a while, I had a little bit of a burnout, as it were. I just couldn't keep up for a while, so I had to take, what was it now, 2 weeks break almost, give or take? But yeah, I needed time to redo, rethink, and recover. There's a lot going on in life. But I'm back. And as a celebration of being back, I have started to ask you guys what you'd like to see again, instead of just assuming you guys want to see this or that. So I decided to go back to the old core, what got my channel so popular, and we're looking at the complete history of Kamen Rider. So we're going to be doing this complete history, then the complete history of Ultraman after this. Then we're going to see what we can do after that from, like, I think Lambo Carizian. It's been a bit since I've reacted to any of his videos. Should be fun. But let's get into this and see how each one. I'll go through each era in the video. I might break up one of the eras, considering one of them is like, I'm like almost 28 minutes. I might break that in half, but we'll see. In the meantime, let's go through the intro, and I believe the first era is Showa era. After that comes Heisei and then Reiwa. So let's go through the Showa era.
Why is Kamen Rider so legendary?
Let me make sure you guys can hear everything.
From 1971's original Kamen Rider series to 2024's Kamen Rider Gav, the Kamen Rider franchise has built an incredible legacy and a rich history within Japan and throughout the entire world. This video will cover every single Kamen Rider series throughout history, as well as other major milestones in the franchise like movies, games, and even American adaptations. So if you want a video that you can show to people who don't know what Kamen Rider is, or if you just want to take an entertaining walk with me through the complete history of this legendary franchise, this is the video for you.
Oh, whoops! Back. Not what I meant to do. Hold on. Let me back.
To tell the story of the Kamen Rider franchise, we first have to go all the way back to 1938, where a young child named Shotaro Onodera was born in the town of
Okay, pretty sure that fixed it. Let me start from the beginning here.
Franchise. This is the video for you. To tell the story of the Kamen Rider franchise, we first have to go all the way back to 1938, where a young child named Shotaro Onodera was born in the town of Tome in Miyagi Prefecture, Japan. Shotaro would take on the name Ishinomori, and he showed a lot of creativity and a talent for creating characters from a young age. He showcased his abilities in various manga competitions throughout his childhood, before he would eventually create a character named Skullman that would of course go on to become Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider! Kamen Rider is perhaps best known for featuring young adult men that become cyborgs and transform into armored superheroes with a theme of grasshoppers and other insects, although this has loosened up a lot over time, and in the modern age, not all series feature this bug theme. In fact, most don't.
Yeah.
There are 3 eras of Kamen Rider, and these coincide with the eras of Japan's history. These eras are known as the Showa era, spanning from 1926 to 1989, the Heisei era, spanning from 1989 to 2019, and the Reiwa era, which spans from 2019 through the present day. In 1971, Kamen Rider was born with the iconic original series, starring 2 main protagonists in Takeshi and Hayato, as they would take on Shocker and later Gel Shocker. Unlike modern-day seasons of Kamen Rider, this series ran for a whopping 98 episodes. And we would start with the story of Takeshi Hongo, a college student who was turned into a cyborg by Shocker, but they were unable to fully convert his mind, and he would rebel and battle against them. While filming a motorcycle stunt, Takeshi Hongo's actor Hiroshi Fujioka was injured and had to be replaced. They would replace him by Hayato Ichimonji, played by Takeshi Sasaki, and eventually they would join forces together, becoming the iconic Double Riders. This series set iconic tropes, such as Kamen Rider being a cyborg fighting an evil organization, and of course his preferred method of transportation, his rider machine Cyclone. To say that this series was iconic and legendary would be a huge understatement.
No kidding. I mean, it's like you can't think of Kamen Rider without at least a bike involved.
In 1973, Toei would follow up the success of Kamen Rider with Kamen Rider V3, a direct sequel, featuring returning characters from Kamen Rider. In this series, Shiro Kazami wants to be a cyborg in order to avenge his family that he saw being killed by Destron. He becomes mortally wounded while risking his life to protect the Double Riders, so in return they turn him into Kamen Rider V3. This series features Joji Yuki, also known as Rider Man, played by Takahisa Yamaguchi, who has one of the most unique rider suit designs in the franchise, being that his mouth is exposed through his helmet. Our protagonist Shiro is played by Hiroshi Miyauchi, who also played Owl Ranger in Go Ranger, Big One in Jaka, and Chief Counselor Naoyuki Miura in O Ranger, plus multiple seasons of the Metal Hero franchise.
Dang, so this guy's this guy's got a resume that helps out with Toku content.
This guy is a Toku legend.
No kidding.
As far as V3 suit design, it was a natural evolution from the looks of the Double Riders, featuring more red and a slightly more detailed design. Kamen Rider X! 1974 was the year of Kamen Rider X, where our main protagonist Keisuke and his father were betrayed by Keisuke's fiancée in order to assist God, the government of darkness, leading Keisuke and his father to become mortally wounded. Keisuke's father, who was a robotics expert, turned Keisuke into a Kaizorg, also known as X-Rider or Kamen Rider X, in order to save his life. In this series, Keisuke starts as an easygoing character with the optimism
Iconic. Sliding it into place.
of somebody that's about to get married. But all that is ripped away from him, and he turns into a machine of pure precision and focus. His helmet is meant to look like a skull, and his helmet definitely has a look that calls back to the Skullman manga created by Shotaro Ishinomori. Due to competition from anime on TV at the time, the show had lower ratings than the studio had hoped, and it only lasted 35 episodes.
Aw. Wait, all the mob characters for the bad guys had capes? I mean, at least you'll remember them.
Also in 1974, we had Kamen Rider Amazon. This is the shortest Kamen Rider series ever, and one of the most violent. This show follows Daisuke, who was lost in the Amazon as a child. He was raised by wild animals before eventually being adopted by an Incan tribe. Nearly his entire village would be killed by Gold Ghosts, but not before an elder in the tribe performs a ritual to give him the power to become Kamen Rider Amazon. This was an incredibly iconic and unique new look for Kamen Rider, with a helmet design and a suit design that had never been seen before. This was the first rider to not use a belt to henshin, and the first Kamen Rider series since the original to not have any previous riders returning. This is also the very last main Kamen Rider series that did not have a Sentai season air alongside it. 1975 saw the release of Kamen Rider Stronger, which was originally planned to be the final Kamen Rider series. This show follows Shigeru Joe, whose best friend and mentor Goro is killed by Black Satan. Because of this, Shigeru lets himself get turned into a cyborg or Kamen Rider Stronger.
Yeesh. Really covered in sparks there.
He meets Yuriko, also known as Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle, or Denpaningen Tekud, who is also a cyborg created by Black Satan, and together they would battle Black Satan and later the Delzer Army. Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle isn't technically a Kamen Rider, but she definitely has the look of one, especially the ones from the early Showa era, and she is bug-themed, with Tackle's motif being a ladybug, and she was even created by Black Satan in the same way as Stronger. Unfortunately, the actress Kyoko Okada, who played Electronic Wave Humanoid Tackle, passed away at the age of 27 due to an asthma attack. Shigeru was played by Shigeru Araki, who also passed away in 2012 of pneumonia. This was meant to be called Kamen Rider Spark, but that was trademarked in Japan. However, this would have been a really fitting name due to the show's focus on electricity, and this was the very first Kamen Rider series to have a temporary power-up for the main rider, that being Stronger's charge-up form. Kamen Rider! 4 whole years later, the Kamen Rider fandom would be introduced to Sky Rider. This was meant to be a reboot of the original Kamen Rider series after the franchise had been off of TV for 4 whole years, hence the name and similar suit design to Kamen Rider Ichigo. This show would revisit classic themes and tropes from the first 2 Kamen Rider series. In Sky Rider, we follow Hiroshi Tsukuba as he battles Neo Shocker. Eventually, the idea of this being a reboot was phased out over time, and classic Kamen Riders would appear, tying this into the continuity of the rest of the era. With a name like Sky Rider, this series was very focused on flight. However, this was also phased out over time, and as far as I can tell, this was because Shotaro Ishinomori was unhappy with the flight special effects, i.e. he didn't like how it looked when Sky Rider was flying around.
Fair enough. That's a fair reason.
In 1980, we were introduced to Kamen Rider Super 1. Our protagonist, Kazuya, volunteers for cybernetic surgery in the International Space Development Program in the United States, so he can be an astronaut who doesn't need a spacesuit to survive in space. Unfortunately, before he can make it to space, the base where his operation is being performed is attacked by the Dogma Kingdom, with everyone else being killed. He goes to Japan and is trained by a martial arts expert named Master Ginkai, who teaches him how to henshin into Super 1. This show featured multiple types of interchangeable hands with different strengths and elements, and this functioned as a prototype version of the form switching that we see today.
Well, there we go.
In 1984, Toei released a one-off special titled Birth of the 10th Kamen Riders All Together, and this was the introduction of Ryo Murasame, also known as Kamen Rider Z-Cross. Ryo was a pilot who was attacked by a UFO while with his sister before being kidnapped by the Badan Empire, who turned him into Z-Cross. With his memory erased, he does their bidding before quickly regaining his memory and escaping. He learns of the other riders that came before him, and they would team up together. Although this is only a special, Z-Cross is considered the 10th rider and often represented as a season retroactively. This special marks the final unhenshin appearance of Shiro Kazami, also known as Kamen Rider V3, Joji Yuki, also known as Riderman, and Kazuya Oki, also known as Kamen Rider Super 1. 1987 saw the release of one of the most popular and loved series in the history of the Kamen Rider franchise in Kamen Rider Black. This is a legendary entry marked by a dark tone, a gritty look, and a very emotional story. This show is a drama in the
I've heard so much about this show in particular.
Fullest sense. Black introduces us to Kotaro Minami, who is portrayed masterfully by Tetsuo Kurata, and he delivers a heavy and impactful performance where you're going to feel the agony that he feels during his fight against Shadow Moon and the Gorgon. It was around this time that the look of Kamen Riders in general started to change a little bit. The helmets became a little less bulky, and the armor started looking a little more like armor instead of cloth. The aesthetics here and the tone would remain influential to future iterations of Kamen Rider for years to come.
Given the current ones, yeah, that makes sense.
In 1988, after the success of Kamen Rider Black, the executives at Toei agreed to go ahead with a sequel entitled Kamen Rider Black RX. In this series, Minami Kotaro returns, and he refuses an offer to join the Crisis Empire. Because of this, he's thrown into the sun, where he would become Kamen Rider Black RX. This show is notable for featuring Rideron, which was a red car instead of Kamen Rider's signature motorcycle, and this was also the first show to introduce form switching into the franchise officially. (1992) was an absolutely packed year for the Kamen Rider franchise, featuring Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, a film celebrating the 20th anniversary of the franchise. Because this was 20 years later, this film was meant to attract fans of the original series that had now grown into adults, and that's why the film was a lot darker and more violent. Our protagonist here is Shin Kazamatsuri, who is fused with grasshopper DNA against his will, leading him to fight against the Institute of Super Science, or ISS. Shotaro Ishinomori originally planned for him to be called Kamen Rider Gaia, with a more traditional look, but later on they changed this to Kamen Rider Shin and gave him a suit that was more biological and insect-like. Ishinomori himself even appears in this movie as a spy.
Dang. That would freak most people out at that point.
Also in 1993, we had the release of Kamen Rider on the Super Famicom. This was a game based on the original Kamen Rider series, released 20 years after the show that it's based on. It was a beat-em-up style game, allowing two players to play as Kamen Rider Ichigo and Nigo respectively. This game made it possible for a new generation to experience the universe of the original Kamen Rider series, and you can even play it with a friend.
There we go. Ooh.
Rounding out a huge 1993 was Ultraman vs. Kamen Rider, a TV special featuring mini clips and interviews with the people involved from both shows, where we have Kamen Rider growing into a giant to fight alongside Ultraman. This was a small project, but fans in 1993 welcomed it, and it kept the spirits of these legendary Toku characters alive and well.
Fair enough.
Kamen Rider J!
1994 was the year of Kamen Rider J, the first rider to be able to grow into a giant. Koji Segawa is a photographer who is killed while attempting to protect his little sister named Kana. He's thrown over a cliff and Kana is captured. The Earth spirits resurrect Koji and he becomes Kamen Rider J, who is assisted by his aide Barry. J is played by Yuta Mochizuki, who also played Geki in Zyuranger.
Ah.
1995 would live in infamy with Saban's Masked Rider, one of the largest blemishes on the resume of Kamen Rider.
I have traveled a vast distance from the planet Edenoi.
After the success of Power Rangers during the 90s, Saban and Toei decided to team up in order to bring Kamen Rider to the English-speaking world. This resulted in what is widely considered to be one of the worst adaptations of all time. This show is about an alien named Dax from planet Edenoi who travels to Earth alongside his companion Furbus, who looks like a giant Furby, and he meets a family who are pretty much devoid of personality and acting skills.
Ectophase, activate!
They tried to shove Kamen Rider and a family sitcom together, and it just doesn't work. An unfortunate blemish to the legacy of Kamen Rider in the West.
It really doesn't when you do it that way. You should have just kept it the action drama situation. Like, you could have him with the family, but have him protecting the family, because who knows, maybe one of their family members has like a bloodline trait that the Empire's after or something like that, you know? Don't make it a sitcom. Jesus. Oh god, and they had a dance. Of course they did.
1998 saw the release of a Kamen Rider game on a brand new cutting-edge system, the PlayStation, allowing fans to experience the original Kamen Rider series all over again. This was a fighting game featuring characters and locations that fans of the original series would be really excited to see. The gameplay was nothing revolutionary here, but this was definitely a noteworthy release in the history of Kamen Rider. 1998 was also a year that would go down as a sad one for Kamen Rider fans, as we lost Shotaro Ishinomori due to heart failure on January 28, 1998. It was unclear what would come of the Kamen Rider franchise with the loss of its creator and visionary.
Yeah. Henceforth, that explains the change in eras. And that's where we'll end there, but dang, the end of the Showa era ended with the loss of the creator. Ah, man. Always sad when fun multi-decade series lose their creators. Especially like Dragon Ball losing its Akira Toriyama, or in this case, the Kamen Rider franchise losing their creator. Boy. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. I certainly did. Glad to be back and helping out with more Toku content. Please like, comment, subscribe down below if you guys are enjoying this, and let me know if there's any other compilations that you want me to check out. Because like I said, I am going to be doing the complete history of Kamen Rider, as you see here, but also the complete history of Ultraman after this. Because I've already done the complete history of Super Sentai. So, we'll continue on with the next video. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the Heisei video, but in the meantime, take care. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!